I started a long time ago doing the surf therapy because when I learned that it was healing for me, I started taking battered women's shelters out. I started taking foster care women out and their kids out to the beaches down there in Santa Monica, and we just turned it into um, uh, just a pleasant experience for women.
Welcome, welcome to the show. So glad you're here. Glad you tuned in. And hey, tell a friend. My guest today on this episode is Rhonda Harper. First met her several years ago when I heard about her organization, Black Girl Surf. Look, I am no surfer. She would like to change that though. But I was so interested in Coach Rowe's work to carve out a place for Black women in the surf world. In fact, Coach Rowe is working tirelessly to promote people of color in professional sports overall. She works to support athletes who just aren't getting exposure and don't have enough access to all the things they need to be successful. Things like marketing and management and travel and equipment, things that many athletes may very well take for granted. She has two athletes that are headed to the Summer Games in Paris, the Olympics. So much to talk to this trailblazer about. Please welcome Coach Rowe, Rhonda Harper. Good to see you, girl. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. Yeah, it has been a few years and a few changes definitely have happened since the last time I talked to you.
I
And
feel
I
like I gotta catch up to you because it was Black Girl Surf. You were having a great time. You were doing some things in Africa about Africa Surf and still are, but you've really branched out. So let's take people back a bit. Let's rewind the tape a little bit. I'm actually embarrassed to realize that I don't think we talked about this the last time. Girl, you from Kansas. What does a girl from Kansas know about surfing?
girl from Kansas don't know anything except for Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello. Those are the two people that she knows very well. Deadhead and all of the beach blanket crew. That's who we know. That's
That was
that's
your
what
education into surf.
it is. That was my education. But let me tell you, there was one person that was significant that was in those movies that a lot of people don't realize. Now, if you're a kid from the 70s, and I'm going to be 56 next month,
I'm 53.
see, then you'll understand how big Stevie Wonder was in the 70s.
Yes.
And when I was watching those movies, there was a little black kid who they introduced with these glasses on, and his name was Little Stevie. And that guy is the reason why I'm here because I saw him in those movies and I was like, well, if he could be there, I can be there too. My parents were civil rights activists. And so they had already told us, where we couldn't go, places that we were not, we weren't able to even
You
go to
knew,
the
you
local
were
Super Bowl.
aware.
Yeah, I was quite aware. And so when I saw Stevie and knowing Stevie was doing all of this civil rights work during the 70s, that was it. I was like, I can be this person. I can be in that situation. And the funniest thing is that those people that are in those movies, they have counterparts that are in real life. And I, through this journey, which I call the Yellow Brick Road, I actually got to meet the original characters, even down to Gidget.
No way. Talk
Yeah,
about like, what did that do for little baby Ro?
little baby Rose standing at a contest pre party,
Yeah.
and Gidget walks up, and somebody goes, "Oh, there goes Gidget," and I go, "That is not Gidget. Are you serious? Like that's the Gidget?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's the Gidget, right?" And I was like, "Ugh." And I go over and I, can I take a picture? So I have a picture with me and the original Gidget. I mean, it was, even down to Deadhead, which was like uh Tube Steak Terry.
Yeah.
Those guys, they're the original counterparts of those people. On my journey to get where I am now, I stopped in Santa Monica and found Inkwell Surf. And so that's how I got to meet all of the people because those people had Nick Gobbledon not
Yes.
passed away in 1951,
Uh-huh.
surfing wouldn't look the way that it is because
Well, you
Nick
see,
Gobbledon
that's
was the
the
first
thing.
surfer.
The people that are surfing today definitely stand on the shoulders of the pioneers in the game. And by the way, talk about a pioneer, you are yourself. So let's talk about this. What was it? Okay, so there was this sort of romanticized notion of surf culture,
Hmm.
but then there's the reality of getting on a board and being in the water,
Right.
and by the way, not seeing people that look like you in that
Absolutely.
space. How did you fall in love with the actual act of surfing?
So On a punishment, I was sent to Hawaii to go live with my 19-year-old sister, and I'm 16 or I'm 15 at the time.
That was punishment?
Yeah, it was punishment. I was getting in trouble at school because I went to an all-white school, but my parents were like, either she's gonna end up in the juvenile justice system or she's gonna end up dead, one of the 2.
Okay.
And so they said, "Lo, you're gonna go live with your sister." And I said, "Which one?" Because one had a kid and one didn't. So she said the 19-year-old in Hawaii. I was like, "Okay, I'll go to live with my sister." So my sister was living in the Turtle Bay Hilton area
Okay.
when and the North Shore of
Yep.
Hawaii. So I literally learned how to surf where everybody is like, "Oh my God, I'm never going to surf the North Shore because the waves are so big." When you're a child, you don't know the difference
You
between
and by the
wave.
way, you had no fear at that age.
None, none whatsoever because we'd been surfing. We have a pool in our backyard, so I already knew whatever situation I was going to get in, I was going to be able to get out of it.
Okay.
Although the day that
Oh,
I did start surfing, there was a situation that it was life changing. So the day that I learned how to surf was a day that Magnum PI was filming, and they were on a break. And so one of the guys came down and asked me if I wanted to ride tandem. And I didn't
okay.
know what tandem was, but he explained it to me. And then I remembered that's the stuff that was in the movie. The
Yeah.
2 people on the board. That's what was in Muscle Beach Party. So I said, yeah, he explained it. It was pretty simple. Like, I'm gonna grab your bathing suit when we're gonna paddle. I'm gonna grab your bathing suit, pull you up like this. We're gonna go to the beach. I said, okay, that's simple enough. Okay, so we're
Wow.
paddling, paddling, paddling. He pulls me up. I go one way, he goes the other way. I come up without my top at 15 years old. It was the most unhumbling experience I ever had in my life. But it also
Bro.
that was the last day I was gonna surf with somebody around me.
Oh, well, see,
So
now it's interesting because that might have ended surf for me at that age, but for
yeah.
you, it didn't stop you. You just said you're gonna do it differently.
It was humbling for me because I was a cocky old kid or at that point, and Mother
Mm,
Nature will humble anybody at any
anybody.
given time. So it was a lesson that I learned, like to be very careful, learn what to wear, how to act and behave, and so that's what I got at 15 from surfing, just discipline and understanding the
Right,
waves and
and
knowing.
so to learn that at that age, I don't think your parents necessarily expected that you'd learn that kind of lesson, but it was
No,
it's funny how life will teach you and nature will teach you lessons that maybe sometimes people can't. That's really impressive. So you also start coaching at a young age, right? You start
right?
coaching
I did.
and teaching other people.
I did. When I came back from Hawaii after school, I think when I came back, I was a little bit more mature
Hmm,
in my mind. I knew what I wanted to do. I was like hanging out with older people, like women, grown
mhm,
women.
mhm.
And one of my teachers was an aerobics instructor at Kaiser Hospital. And I don't know if you guys know, but like in that 84, 85 thing, Kaiser Hospital in San Jose was where the AIDS patients were. And they moved all of the nurses out, but they were working like 24 hours a day and they were on strike. So we would go over there, take a building over at Kaiser, and we like put them in aerobic classes just to stress down stress level. So I
Yeah.
started coaching aerobics at like 15 years old.
So you obviously got the bug to coach really early on. So you've got a love of water sports, you've got a
Right,
love of moving your body, and you've got a love of sharing that love with
right.
other people. So again, water pulled you back though, right? Because
Water
aerobics
always pulls me back.
you're like, look, it's not aerobics. It was one way to have some fun and to teach and to have community.
Absolutely.
But water pulled you back.
Water always pulls me back because water is calming,
Hmm.
right? That's what I learned in my
Right.
soul. I mean, look at it. Baptisms. Look how many different times they use water for healing purposes. Even if you go to Africa, they heal through the water, right? And so and if they think that there's something bad that's going to happen to them, they go to the water and pour milk in it. Everything is healing is in the water. That's why there's so many surf therapy groups up right now is because of that particular element of
Of water.
surfing of water. And so I started a long time ago doing the surf therapy because when I learned that it was healing for me, I started taking battered women shelters out. I started taking foster care women out and their kids out to the beaches down there in Santa Monica, and we just turned it into um, uh, just a pleasant experience for women. You know what I
Talk
mean?
about
Just
talk about that transformation for them. What so they come to the water, and I'm sure some of them are a little
hesitant,
right, hesitant,
hesitant that
mistrusting.
It's trusting. You get all of that, and they originally will come for the kids, and they will sit underneath our tents, and we'll give them flowers, and we'll make sure they eat and do pedicures and do their hair and all that other stuff. And about 20, 25 minutes into it, they start, even though they don't have bathing suits, you'll see them start walking towards the water where their kids are. Next thing you know, they're surfing in their
That's
clothes, literally. And that I knew. And I started that in like 2002. So I knew that that was something that was missing from just black women, period,
yes.
because I was taking East Los Angeles and Compton area and all those uh all of the groups down in southern LA. And
Mhm.
so I knew there was a problem. And I said, let's see how we can help.
We
So
we.
it was a we. It wasn't just me. It was
Mm.
a we. It was me and my sister and all of my friends. And we just decided we're gonna carry your bags. We're gonna carry this load for you. Let's see what happens. Now we were waiting to see one of the girls come out of there and say, I want to be a professional surfer. We didn't get that.
Okay.
We didn't
Okay,
get
that's
that, but
fair.
we were satisfied with the fact that more of the girls wanted to come back the second time. So
Yeah.
much so that we made it into an after school program at the time. So we're kind of building bridges to where we get here. And at
Right,
that,
and that's the point is that you since we've talked, you have it's a continuum for you. You're
right.
evolving as you go. You also, one of the things that has been very important to you is representation because, by the way,
Oh yeah.
representation is what got you and Stevie Wonder on a surfboard, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Both of
this idea
them.
of representation and creating space, because I believe there's space in the world for all of us, but sometimes there's spaces that don't feel like that we're welcome, so you created a space in the world of water sports and surf, and you did this work also in Africa at the same
Hmm.
time.
Uh-huh. So unfortunately, during COVID, I got locked up. We had brought over one of the African females surfers, the very first one from Senegal. So it was during the Olympic time, the last leg of the Olympics. And so we brought her here so she could train here in the United States and focus. And our waves are all different and they were going to Japan at the time. And so we said, let's start training our girls ourselves because we don't see anybody in the lineup. And if you look at the United States surf team, you'll understand why my passion is the way it is. And so we brought her here, and instantaneously, as soon as we put it out that she needed money to go to the Olympics, I mean, within 24 hours of being on ABC, we had our money and then some. Right? I called one of my friends that was a reporter here, and I told him the story. And he was like, "Where are you? I'll be there in 15 minutes." You know what I'm saying? So that night we were on the news, and the next thing you know, it just kind of blew up. Well, the WSL, which is the World Surf League, got a hold of that information, wanted us to come down and talk to them about DEI, right? So we went down and we spoke with them, and they had this film projects they were working on called Transformed. So I went to Africa in the beginning of 2000 to go and film this particular athlete, Hadju Sam, right? And so I went over there and I got a call like in the middle of the night from one of the reporters that was like with British Vogue, I think. British Vogue, I got something for you. But so they were doing a story. They were coming the next day. I get a call in the middle of the night and she said, Rhonda, I have to leave with my family. And she said, I'll call you and we'll reschedule this. Well, when I woke up, I found out I was locked in Senegal.
You were in Senegal for the entirety of the COVID pandemic?
Yes.
Girl, so you just like, "What am I gonna do? I guess I'll surf." Is that what you did with your time?
Absolutely, because we were given an honorarium, right? I don't speak the language. I don't have a job. I don't nothing. No family there, nowhere to live, nothing. So this is where your parents come in because I'd already survived Hawaii by myself. so, so I we got an honorarium from the WSL for this film, and there was a surf club that we filmed most of the film project. So that guy, he was locked out of Senegal. So he called Haju and he said, Haju, I can't get back in the country. Do you guys want to buy the surf club? And so I took half of her honorarium and half of my honorarium and we bought that surf club over in Senegal. So that's what I had to do while I was locked in a country where I had no job. My dad said, if they don't have a job for you, you create it.
You
And that's
create your own
exactly,
job.
yeah,
So
my dad,
how long were you there in Senegal?
like almost 2 years. Like I think
Unbelievable, and is the surf club still in existence?
hey, it still exists, and we're opening up a second one.
This is incredible. This isn't even a COVID pivot. This is a thing built out of necessity, and by the way, don't they always say that necessity is the mother of invention?
Yes.
Look, this is incredible. Okay, so you've got these athletes there, and also give us an idea of what the reality is like for a professional athlete in some of these African nations. Like, for example, in Senegal, we look at the sponsorships, the branding, the marketing that professional athletes can get here. And we even know that playing field isn't level in the United
Mhm.
States. But talk about the reality for a professional athlete in Senegal.
And
How do they make it, and how do they stay competitive?
they have to have someone like me. And I always say, when I wanted to be a pro surfer, because when I was growing up in Hawaii, I wanted to be a pro surfer, but there was nobody like me to guide the way, that did knew the system, that could show me, okay, this is how you register for contests, this is how you train for contests, this is how they're scoring. Nobody knew that. But I when I was a reporter, I went to the school. So I became an officiate for judging and coaching, and so I had certification in surfing. So
Yeah.
now I can go and I can teach this to the African people so that they can flourish and not
Right.
have to
Right.
depend on Europe for
Right.
every single thing. Like, I'm always into self sustainability. Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna I became a carpenter because we were going through Africa Surf International, we were going to build housing in Sierra Leone where we were holding our first contest.
Yeah.
And so I went to carpenter's training. I'm a certified carpenter now because I didn't want somebody to say, oh, she just directed people and they just did that. I wanted to have my hands in it, in
In
the
it
dirt, in
all.
the clay, and do actually what I said I'm going to do, not instruct other people to do it
Right.
for me. No. So we bought there is a academy that's hopefully this year we'll be able to go into Sierra Leone and start building on that academy. But we actually have an academy that is in Sierra Leone. So I'm in Sierra Leone and Senegal.
I was thinking about the fact that in all of these things that you're doing, you're a first.
Mhm.
Whether it's, coming out here to Santa Monica and getting on a surfboard, whether it is, being in Senegal and having to learn how to be a carpenter. And there's other firsts that we'll talk about as our conversation continues. It's not always easy being the first.
No,
It's not glamorous. It's not
no,
fun. And there's a
no.
lot of forces working against you.
A lot, a lot, a lot, and you'll be surprised. This is what I tell my athletes now. Once you start getting attention, you'll be surprised how quickly you lose friendships and
Ugh,
connections, right? It was so bad for Haju when she, after the release of her film. See, I have to be responsible for everything. I'm
yes.
responsible even for their mental health, right?
Mhm.
And so when we introduced Haji, we didn't really prepare her for what was getting ready to happen because Haji was the symbol of Black women surfing. But that came with a lot of negativity. It
Yeah.
can, like I told her after a while, stop reading the comments.
Yes.
Stop reading them. They don't want to see it.
By the way, in life, it's best to stay out of the comments section.
Yes,
Just
I
as a
learned
rule,
hard.
people, it
Uh-huh.
is never going to lift you up. It will always tear you down.
It did.
Back
And
to
I
the
and
conversation.
I had her on suicide watch for about 3 years.
No.
Yeah, she didn't know how to handle it, and so what I said was, "I am not gonna leave this person," because everybody was like, "You need to leave her, she's gonna mess up, da, da, da." I said, "No, I
Yep.
put her in this situation, and neither one of us knew this thing was gonna take off the way that it did."
Yeah.
But here's what happens when there's an unknown, and this is what happens when you're a first because you don't know
You
what's
don't.
gonna happen to you, and, she stopped surfing for, like, 3 years.
Is Haju surfing still again now?
She started surfing again now.
Oh, thank
She
goodness.
did, she did, she did,
I'm
she
so
started
glad.
surfing now. She is actually the catalyst for the 2 athletes that are going to the Olympics.
Let's
So
talk about them. Let's talk about these 2 athletes. Edmond Sanka, I understand from Senegal, just qualified for the 2024 Paralympics. Kombi Sek, also from Senegal. kayaking and canoeing in the Olympics in Paris. You'll be going as well?
I'm going. I'm not only going there, I'm going to hopefully I think I'm meeting the president of Senegal because they're having a big Olympic ceremony. So
Of
I'm on my
course.
way to Senegal via Paris. We're doing
From
this thing
here, from this
from here.
conversation, she's getting on a plane and going.
Yeah, I was supposed to be gone a long time ago. I know they wanted to do a docu-series. I'm like, I have the Olympics. I can't
I'm
do a
sorry, I
whole
have the
summer.
Olympics?
I can't do a whole summer of interviews again. Like I have to go. I have to work. So
Girl, just
so
say it. Things have changed since
that
we last spoke.
they have
Things have
seriously
really changed.
changed since the last time.
Talk
So
to me. I want you to talk about Edmund Senka. Sing his praises. Tell me about
oh
this
my God,
athlete.
this is the most gentle man I have ever met in my life. There was one day that I spent with them. They were training, they were working out, and he's on his weights. I'm taking photos. I'm thinking this is the most wonderful thing ever because this man is able to do things, with just one leg. He's a war hero from Senegal.
Oh my God.
So, I'm just impressed by just his strength alone,
Yeah.
right? But we leave the gym and we have to walk to go where they canoe and kayak,
Mhm.
and as we're walking through town to catch the taxi, Edmund is like stopping every person who was either paraplegic, who was in a wheelchair. He's stopping and talking to them. There were little kids with buckets of money and stuff, and he'd stand there and he'd give them money and he'd stand there and talk to them. He was
Wow.
going, I mean, it was the most amazing moment for me, even as a coach. I get teary. Even as a coach, you don't, and for no representation, nobody's singing praises of this man. I was just like, you guys gotta be kidding. And he's in a sport that is predominantly white, and he's like a gentle giant.
Yeah.
He said, everybody thinks I look like 50 Cent. I said, don't do that to you. I said, don't do that to yourself. I said, you the whole dollar. Don't worry
You the
about
whole dollar,
it. You
baby.
the
You hold
whole
it.
dollar.
Now tell me about Combe Sec,
so
also from Senegal as
so
well.
Combe, her is that's Combe is how I got to Edmond. And how
Oh,
I got to Combe is historical all in itself. So Haju is a professional kayak and canoeer, right?
okay.
So she introduced Combe to canoe and kayaking. So that was her coach and her trainer and her
That's beautiful.
introduction.
That's
Yes.
beautiful.
And so her trainee is now going to the Olympics. And this
Boy.
is what I told her when she was in her darkest moment. I said, if you're not proud of what you've accomplished in surfing, be proud that somebody that you introduced to a sport that you loved is now going on the Olympic stage.
Yes.
You had a hand in that. You have to give these women their flowers. Otherwise, they go into this self hating.
Yeah.
Everything is negative, and it's no reason for her to feel that way because
Yeah.
look at she's got somebody on the Olympic stage. Not only
Absolutely.
one, but she introduced me to both of them. So she
So
got
look at this.
first two.
It keeps paying its way forward. And I suppose for you, not only in supporting these athletes and lifting them up, elevating them, giving them all the support and resources and everything they need to be competitive on the world stage, you also want marginalized communities from around the globe, right? People that are inspired by their story, even here in America, because you're probably looking for some of those same water sport champions in the Black and brown communities here in the US.
Yes, I am, and it's weird now because now that people know that we've expanded our water sports. I mean, all the way down to figure skating. That's water. It's hard water, but it's still water,
We call it
right?
hard water.
I want a certificate. I want a certificate with US Katie to go over and learn how to ice skate and see if they can get my girls into competing. And I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be rough. This is because this is hard water. When you
It's
hit
hard
this
water.
one, when you hit
It's
this
not as
water, it's not
forgiving.
the same as ocean water." So
We
I
call
was more
ice
terrified. I
hard
was more
water.
terrified in ice skating than I was going surfing.
Oh, you are too funny, Ro. You are too funny. So look, are you still coaching? Are you still hands-on with all of these athletes?
I am definitely hands on with all my athletes, and that's the only way to be. I may not be there every single day, but I am there. Now we have one in Brazil that I am not. I have yet to meet.
Oh. Need
She's
a
50.
translator. I can speak Portuguese. I'll help you out with that.
I'm definitely gonna call you for that one because I don't speak it. And she's 15 years old, and
Oh,
she just competed and did very well at
yeah.
the ISA games down in El Salvador. Now, why is that important? those games are the precursor to Dakar 2020, which are the Youth Olympics. So I have two sets, two groups going to the Olympics,
Do you have a
24 and
whiteboard
26.
in your living room with grid, like a grid and
I
magnets?
do. It's in my bathroom. No, it's in my kitchen. It's like I have to remember what I'm doing each day. Okay, to this day is surfing. This day is canoe kayaking. And I do it like that. It's easy.
And by the way, okay, so you heard about, so she taught herself this, she taught herself that, she's a carpenter now. But then also, how did I miss this? That you are designing the kit for, you're dividing the kits for your athletes so they don't have to worry about their clothes, their outfit as they're heading over there, because that also costs money. You've designed the clothing your athletes will wear?
I did. So before all of this, before all of this, right after I got out of high school, I became a celebrity designer. And I was in LA doing design for like, I don't know, 20 years with MCA Records, Uptown, and all those. So New Edition, Heavy D, all of those people, Jagged Edge, TLC, all those people, I did their clothes back in the 80s and 90s. And that's how I found Santa Monica, because I needed an athlete to represent my clothing line. Because when Eddie Murphy is your client, you pretty much, that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I gotta go now. So
I'm
I'm
out.
gonna just
That's it.
create a whole clothing line. So what I wanted to do was, at the time, it was neo soul was hot. So I was like, I want a neo soul type of vibe in my clothing, where for the surf,
Yeah.
the beach crowd. And I couldn't find any surfers. I couldn't find anybody, to represent my clothing line. And so that's how this all started.
Isn't
So
that incredible?
yeah, so this is like full circle. I had to
Full
create a whole
circle.
community. I had to create a whole community in order to sell a T-shirt to help these to help these.
Lengths you'll go to sell some clothes, girl.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how
So
I ended up selling the kit, designing the kit, because they don't have the funding.
of course.
They
Of
don't
course.
have the funding to have designer wear. If you see Ralph Lauren's collection that they did, or they have the big designers that are
Yeah.
designing for them, right? They have access to all of that.
What's your
When they're
label called?
It's Inkwell lifestyle brand.
Inkwell Lifestyle Brand. And so the Senegalese water sports athletes, your 2 athletes will be rocking that in Paris, and you'll
They
be wearing it too.
I'll be wearing it too.
So we can watch for you.
You can watch for us. We're on the tail end, so we're on, like, I think the rowing and kayaking is like the 2nd through the 5th of August. So we're on the tail end of the Olympics, and then the Paralympics comes after the Olympics.
Right,
So I'll be in
right.
Paris for a while. My
I
brand
love it.
manager is like, "It's about time you come to Paris," because my brand manager is literally in Paris.
Girl, you are so international. You are so
You have to
international.
be,
You
because
have to.
you don't have people with a vision. They may think it, but they're not moving in that direction. And it
Yeah.
takes somebody like me to inspire other people to do other things within their industry that they wouldn't normally do.
Well, can I just say you have lit an Olympic torch-sized flame in all of us by sharing your passion and your journey, which, by the way, folks, is just beginning, because you have had so many twists. You're the original multi-hyphenate, I think.
I think so. I feel
Honestly, you
like
are. I have loved this, and I'm so grateful that you fit me in before you head off to Paris. I'm thrilled about this. I'm excited for your athletes. Thank you for introducing us to Edmond and Combe. We'll watch for them in Paris at the Olympics this summer. And for all of you watching, I want her to go ahead, Ro, give us your give us your social handles so they can follow along as well.
Okay, so we're at Africa Surf International. That's one, and that's IG. I'll give you all the IGs, and then Black Girl Surf, and Inkwell Surf are all on IG, and then blackgirlsurf.com is the website.
If you're interested in maybe trying a sport, it's never too late to try, and Coach Ro will give you exactly what you need.
Hmm.
What a blessing to have time with you, girl. You take care of yourself. Bon voyage. Au
Thank you so
revoir.
much.
Enjoy Paris. I'm a little envious. And for all of you tuning in to watch, thank you so much for being along on this journey with me, and we'll see you next time.